want to start somewhere. Before we get to the stuff that we're going to get to, actually, it's all related because I guess we're talking about running campaigns and using social media and using podcasts, etc. And one of the things that was trouble was that some people on Team Kamala were offended by Joe Rogan. So you've had 23-year-old staffers who were simply offended by Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. We had other situations where staffers were angry for one reason or another, the young staffers in Kamala's camp, and they would try to push the senior people around a little bit. Much like we've seen with all the newsrooms. It's the same exact training that's happening. It's the same like woke Gen Z stuff happening. And so they wanted to, some of the staffers said, we're offended by this. We don't want to do this. We want to go, because James Carville says it because there's a feeling now that the campaign is supposed to look diverse. They're supposed to look like America rather than have the best people. You want, one of every person or whatever. And so that Kamala's team was full of these people, which essentially DEI hires, which there's a bunch of news on today. And that makes somebody like an old timer like James Carville very angry because he used to run campaigns where you'd want to win. That was the main thing you'd want to be doing.
But of course, they get accused of hypocrisy, the Democrats. They're sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because they get accused of hypocrisy because they're out here advocating for like a $20 minimum wage and 6-month paid maternity leave. And then like if you treat your campaign staff like they're in the trenches fighting this crazy war, then like they complain and call you out about how hypocritical you are.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So here's Carville, and this is on the Politicon, one of the Politicon podcasts. He's on there with somebody else. This is him saying why the structure of having these young people in Kamala's campaign, these young people who wanted a say, they all get a vote, we all get a say. This is a collective, right? Carville is rip bleep saying, no, this is not how you run a campaign. Oh, sorry. Sorry, thanks, Morgan. Sorry, Morgan. Okay. So once again, this is James Carville complaining about having to have these young people, these 23-year-olds who know nothing, because you have to have, the campaign has to look like America. And so identity politics, there has to be one of everything in the campaign, at least one of everything. But
right, it's like when they did this to Obama with like the Lilly Ledbetter stuff, that they were trying to pass this law that like women had to make the same as men, and they found that obviously in the Obama administration, women on average made less than men.
Exactly. So here's James Carville venting about this. The fact that these young kids are working in campaigns and they demanded that, everybody get representation, everybody be heard from. And if I don't want to be Kamala to be on Rogan because I think he's mean and shoots guns, then she shouldn't be on Rogan.
Campaigns are authoritarian by their nature. And if I were running a 2028 campaign and I had some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying, I'm going to resign if you don't do this, not only would I fire that motherfucker on the spot, I would find out who hired them and fire that person on the spot. I'm really not interested in your uninformed, stupid, jackass opinion as to whether you go on Joe Rogan or not.
So there you go. So, he went on to say, you basically shut the hell up. You put the adults in charge, and it's sharp elbows. We're doing adult decisions. We're in politics, which is effing mean. It's mean and it's cutthroat. And so if somebody's sitting around there with, blue spiked hair and a big nose ring saying, I don't feel comfortable being around Joe Rogan, like, F you, freak.
Well, and I mean, it's funny because they went through this like when Biden was going to drop out too. If you remember, like after the debate, a bunch of people who are big leftists who wanted to win, like everyone from around Obama, like the Pod Save people and people like Nate Silver and Matt Iglesias, like all these leftists were saying like, we have to get this guy out of here. This is no good. And a bunch of people were saying, like, why are all these privileged white guys saying Joe Biden has to drop out? And, like, Harry Sisson is tweeting how, like, Biden did awesome at the debate. And what's everyone complaining about? Like, they're all insane. And they're letting the lunatics run the asylum on the Democrat side. I don't know. So, and I want to watch the rest of this. Like, I think you and I should listen to this tomorrow if we have any time at all while we're running around doing our million different things. But Jen O'Malley Dillon, who ran the Kamala campaign, was on the Pod Save podcast, and it's a long interview. I want to listen to the whole thing, but there were a few clips floating around, and I thought this one was really interesting. I also want to play, I had sent to us, and you might need me to re-up it to the top of our chat, but the girl who was the 25-year-old who was running the Kamala HQ Twitter account.
Oh, yeah.
Too, complaining. But yeah, if you have that Pod Save one right there, can you play it? Because this also is fascinating. Like, they are back to we have zero responsibility for how any of this. There was spin. It was mean.
I would say, I mean, look, I am not media hater by any measure, and I think that, we women don't get far in life talking about double standards, so that's not the point. But I do think a narrative, 107 days, 2 weeks fucked up because of a hurricane, 2 weeks talking about how she didn't do interviews, which, she was doing plenty, but we were doing in our own way. We had to, be the nominee, had to find a running mate and do a rollout. I mean, there was all these things that you kind of want to factor in, but real people heard in some way that we were not going to have interviews, which was both not true and also so counter to any kind of standard that was put on Trump that I think that was a problem. And then on top of that, we would do an interview, and to Stephanie's point, the questions were small and processy and about
dumb.
They were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more or to understand. And I'm not here to say that the whole system was focused on us incorrectly. I'm just saying, again, of the things we need to explore as we move forward as a campaign and as a country, that does a disservice to voters. And, I think back and think we should have signaled more of our strategy early on about podcasts and who we were trying to reach. But we had a limited amount of time to reach the people we were trying to reach, and we were trying to go to them. But being up against a narrative that we weren't doing anything or we were afraid to have interviews is completely bullshit, and also took hold a little bit. And we just gave us another thing we had to fight back for that Trump never had to worry about.
Pluff,
Stream.
Okay.
I'm just worried that that's because when it froze for a second for me, I was still seeing the leeches thing. So
the stream has stopped on OBS.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just trying to troubleshoot to see if we could figure out anything why it's freezing for people still on the live stream. So I don't know what's up. But
yeah, no, we tried. We tried running it on ours and mine, and this seems like kind of a problem, but not sure what we're going to be able to do on it right now. So we'll just have to just do the show now, and there's nothing else we can do.
Yeah, Janet says it's working for her in the chat. So I don't know why it's working for some people and not others, but
yeah, we tested over here. But that's, for the Kamala's campaign to say that the interviews were stupid or that the questions were wrong, that is so small. That is so small. And that sounds like
to do interviews. They ask bad questions.
And that sounds like they're helping each other cope. It's terrible. First of all, they did some stupid, bad little interviews. She paid for interviews. I mean, she bought time.
Al Sharpton's in trouble now because he took a bunch of money from her. And is it MSNBC that he's on? They're like, wait, we didn't know you took a bunch of money to interview her.
Essentially, he stole from them. Yeah, which is funny. I think it's hilarious. And you can't say that there was a double standard. And the fact that she said a woman's not going to get far talking about a double standard tells me she's the problem. That kind of attitude is the problem.
Right.
The fact is, they knew that she was trouble, and so they kept her off of interviews. They had Fancy Pants in because he was going to do the interviews because he could talk about casseroles and football, and we're in the final quarter. Then they realized there were several big problems with him, so he couldn't do them. And then she tried to do them, and she's not able to do anything. She's not able to do anything. And people are saying all over the place that, she's trying to ingratiate herself so that she can get in the speaker circuit. Speak about what? It's amazing.
Who would pay any money to have her speak? For the entire campaign, she had to pay people to let her speak. And like, she's somehow, it's so insane to me. She had everything teed up for her. People wanted to have goodwill for this new person getting in, Black woman, this, that, enthusiasm. She's brat, all this stuff. Everybody's all excited. The media's on board. Everybody was in. Like, they wanted this to work. And I mean, like, you and I said this back in July. The only thing about getting Biden out is they're screwed because they can't pass over Kamala, and she's terrible at this. She's terrible at it. She was terrible at it in 2019. She's terrible at it in 2024, and she proved she's terrible at it, and somehow she's polling ahead of the entire Democratic field for 2028, and they're somehow trying to make excuses about what an awesome job she did. Like, it's such insane, like, doing the same thing over and expecting a different result type of behavior that, I mean, like, obviously as a Republican, I hope they continue down this track of what they're doing right now. But I have to think that at some point, like, the Pod Save people know this.
Yes.
Like, they're not dumb.
Totally.
The Nate Silvers of the world, the people, there's a bunch of liberals who want,
I would say
Democrats to win,
look,
who don't want this to happen.
Oh, totally. Totally.
But there's a whole contingent of their party that's like not willing to admit that she did a terrible freaking job.
Right. Well, then the Pod Save people, obviously, I mean...
And ironically, it's the same people who didn't want Biden to get out either.
The Pod Save people, they think they're the coolest people in the world. These are precisely the Aaron Sorkin crew that was running around with Obama feeling they were the coolest, hippest thing in the world.
Well, they want to be the next James Carvilles, right? Like, they want to be the millennial version of what James Carville is. I guess he's Gen X, or is he a boomer, technically?
Carville's at least a boomer. He's not Gen X. Jesus, Ellis.
But
he's 80.
Is he?
Yes.
He seems, but he's like a Clinton guy. So I think that's why I think of him as like, because...
Oh, let me play the...
Do you know what I mean? Like,
no,
he's
I know.
that era.
Yeah, but
He's
Clinton's
like,
80.
No, I know, but he's like the political mind of the 90s, which is like when Gen X was like voting for stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Pod Save bros want to be that for millennials, right?
Yeah, they want to be considered some kind of oracle, certainly. And they're part of a historical... They're perfect. Their self-esteems are intact. There's no doubt about that. But, I mean, I think they all, and a lot of those the Pod Save guys, like, were scrubs. Like Tommy Vietor, and this is a credit to him. You know, a lot of these guys were driving the van, you know, and then got to positions inside the West Wing. And
and nobody wants to admit this in our current woke era, but a lot of people who are successful, like the people who worked on the original Obama campaigns, were successful because they worked really freaking hard and were pretty good at what they do. Totally. And like, much as I don't like the Pod Save bros because they're not on my team and I find them annoying, but like they were, and I don't think they were good at governing per se, but they were good at getting Obama elected.
Absolutely.
Like, so now you're not going to listen to them and you're going to bring in this like horrible comedic parade of psychopaths that ran the Kamala campaign and were doing social media outreach. Put on the chick. I resent her to us. Put on the chick who was running the Kamala HQ Twitter account that was all coconut trees and brat and whatever.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Kapp and I ran the Kamala HQ TikTok. Let's get a few things out of the way. I've been seeing your comments. First up, we did have 2 Gen Z interns behind the account and 3 Gen Z staffers. I was the oldest on the account at the age of 25. It has been so much fun creating content for you guys on the...
So, among other things, if you're the Kamala, like, you know what she's doing right here? She's taking a victory lap. Mm-hmm. Because Jennifer feels like she did a good job. Yeah. What do you mean I did a good job? We put all sorts of things. I got great feedback from you wanting to know how we're doing our brat thing with the coconuts. We got lots of
impressions.
Exactly. All the Gen Z people, the 21-year-olds, they were all happy. We had fun. We traveled. We drank chai tea. Everybody was having... What do you mean? We had a great time. And yeah, it was great. Yeah. I'm going to introduce myself. I'll take a curtain
She
call.
deserves
Yep.
a raise, actually.
I was the one behind the strategy. Right. And that's what's ticking James Carville off. He's like, what the shut up. He says at the beginning of that rant that he doesn't want to even know or hear your effing name. It was such a good rant. There's unfortunately 5,000 more swears in it because Carville can't help but lose his mind. But here it is. Here's the beginning of it.
The vice president was thinking about going on Joe Rogan's show, and a lot of the younger progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit. Supposedly the campaign said that wasn't the term de facto, but they did. When you put a campaign together and you hire young people to do work, let me tell you exactly what you tell these people, what I would tell them. Not only am I not interested in your fucking opinion, I'm not even going to call you by your name. You're 23 years old. I don't really give a shit what you think. And let me tell you another huge error, huge fucking error this made, is when people said campaigns need to reflect progressive values. No, they don't. No, they don't. Campaigns are authoritarian.
This is where we picked it up before. Mm-hmm. But that's absolutely right. I don't even want to know your name. And I had dealt with this when I was at the newspaper, at the Boston Herald. And we had some people in their early 20s. And it was so important to not criticize them. You had to be very gentle. And also,
Well, that's the thing, is that, like, the modern era of progressives have actually drunk the Kool-Aid, right? Like, I mean, yeah, they were always hypocrites talking about how we could have socialism and unionize the coffee shop and everybody could make a living wage making lattes with their master's degree and all this stuff, right? But, like, they talked about it, but the people who were really running the show were like, we know that's not really going to work when we actually need to get things done and win campaigns. We'll just hire people who are competent.
Exactly.
Like,
yes, we support your effort to unionize this particular branch.
Good job, guys.
We'll be back later to delete this branch, but we celebrate it. Yeah.
Yeah, let the black women lead. So true. Like, this is all, we're not going to do it based on merit. You know, all the things that they claim to believe. We want to pay women equally. Everybody this, that, you know, we'll let people to judge go on maternity leave. But, like, it turns out that you can't actually run things that way.
Right.
And so it was actually better for them to be hypocritical and, like, claim to support all this stuff and be like, yes, having an incredibly diverse workforce all making a living wage definitely helps the operation run more efficiently. And then, like, not really do it when they actually wanted to do things. But they've, like I say, they've drunk their own Kool-Aid now. So they think that that's actually true. That, like, the DEI programs actually, like, help the workforce instead of hurting it. Which, is that what you wanted me to talk about? Is that there was this big study recently that essentially found, I mean, something we've talked about this whole time. They gave people a bunch of readings to do from, like, Robin DiAngelo, Ibram X. Kendi, and then they gave them a control where they gave them readings about, like, some random topic about, like, corn exports or whatever stupid thing, right? And then they had them assess a bunch of scenarios where, you know, they were like, oh, this interview process, and this guy's name is, like, Muhammad, and here's his interview process, and do you think racism was a factor in the interview process? And then they'll give them a thing that says, like, oh, here's this guy's name's Ben, and do you think racism was a factor in his interview process? And, like, they tested it pretty rigorously using, like, the same interview processes for people with obviously ethnic sounding names versus not. And what they found is that the DEI trainings caused people to imagine racism in interactions where there was no racism.
Right.
And it caused more feelings of, like, distrust and anger about, like, racial issues and these other things, which is, like, what we've talked about. These trainings are problematic. They don't do what their proponents claim they do, which is, like, increase workplace harmony. They don't make your operation run more efficiently. They cause people to hallucinate racism and be angry over perceived microaggressions that do not exist in reality. And I mean, like, they tested it using some of the biggest, most credentialed most qualified names in the industry, like Ibram Kendi and Robin DiAngelo. These are the ones that everybody's reading. These are the people that supposedly know what they're talking about. I mean, like, I really think that this is a death knell for these programs because
Agreed.
the actual social science does not support that they do any of the stuff that they do. And that's the problem with the Kamala campaign, is that they took their own spin literally.
Yes.
Like, they think all the diversity and inclusion and this and that, and we're going to listen to the, you know, the queer voices on the ground to run the campaign. That, like, they thought that stuff, and this was a problem with Kamala's 2019 campaign too, is it was way too online and way too immersed in...
Totally. That's why this lady's doing the victory.
Edgy online things, right? But this... I mean, but half these people, like, half the people who were on her campaign this time weren't even old enough to be around in the 2019 campaign.
No.
That's what's crazy. Like, their stuff doesn't work. You can't let them be in charge of anything. And one of the things that's been interesting to have progressives note is that a big part of what caused them to lose in 2024 was the fact that places that progressives run, specifically blue cities, are run really, really badly. And that people's perceptions about crime and drugs and homelessness and immigration in large part are influenced by the way that progressive cities have handled these issues, and that they lack credibility on them because everywhere that they run falls completely apart.
But add to that, you just said their stuff doesn't work. The problem is, at the Starbucks that's now unionized, at the at Boeing, at these many other places in blue cities where all of these equity things have been done and the city is falling apart, crime is through the roof. In Connecticut, we talked this week about all these woke rules for traffic stops. You can't take that with the taillights out, et cetera, and it is completely destruction. And now Connecticut has all these people going the wrong way down I-84 and I-91 and causing devastation in cataclysmic car accidents where people are dying left and right. And they're like, why is this happening? Well, because you won't pull over any of the bad drivers. All of the bad drivers in the state still have their licenses. They're not being pulled over.
Because too high a percent of them was black.
Exactly, or Hispanic. And so you got rid of the violators there, and you're wondering now, but if you talk to the true believers like Ken Barone, the guy who created this whole kind of policing, he thinks it's absolute success. That's the problem, is that they're effing everything up, and they believe it's still a success. Look how much more equitable we are.
They think it
Everything's
works.
burning down, but no, it's much more equitable. Okay.
It is. Can we call James? He's not falling asleep. Can we call James to
Yes.
help the baby? You do that because I have something that I want to say here. Now, Splash in the chat is saying the campaign was strong until Kamala had to talk and had all the charisma of a rancid skid mark. The problem with the Kamala campaign was Kamala. And I think that's true. But I think part of the reason that that's true is that Kamala has no personality or core beliefs or anything, and so she's like an empty vessel that ends up taking on whatever the ideology du jour is. So in that sense, and Tom, just a recap for you, Splash in the chat was saying that the problem was Kamala because the campaign was doing fine until she spoke out loud, which is partially true, but I think it's true because she is such an empty vessel that she ends up being like the perfect distillation of this ideology.
Yep.
Because she is so vacuous that whatever comes along that's the strongest force, like, takes her over and wears her like a skin suit, and she goes out here and parrots the most insane talking points because she has for all his faults, somebody like Bill Clinton has great political instincts.
Well,
right?
yes.
He's not going to go out here and say that we should give sex change surgeries to trans illegal immigrants in prison. Like, he's not going to say that because he's not freaking stupid in that way.
Even if he's going to do that, he's not going to say that. And like, you looked at the idea that like Sonny Hostin took Kamala down. Sonny Hostin. Can you just name something?
Not even on purpose. He was trying to help her.
Yeah, because she gave her a layup. She pitched one right down the middle that anybody would have knocked out. Like a real candidate like Bill Clinton, if you said, what's going to be different between you and Biden? He would have run with that and said, oh, absolutely. This is because that's why you vote for me. That's the vote for me pitch. What's going to be different? Nothing. Okay.
But Kamala is literally too stupid to understand that all this stuff that like the activists say that they want to do, that you can't really say that out in public.
And by the way,
Like,
you can't really say that.
and
also,
B, you can't actually govern that way.
can you imagine the 21-year-old voices who are allowed in meetings who said, yeah, we're going to spend millions, hundreds of thousands and millions, and we're going to bring Cardi B in here, and it's going to get lots of pickup. And of course, when Cardi B got there, the teleprompter wasn't working, which then puts you in a position to have one of the most least articulate people to ever roam the earth have to speak off the cuff now. And she may be a good dancer and an excellent in a brothel or whatever she came out of, but she is unable to speak.
She's a poet of the modern age.
Yeah, that's what that's right. But like, what do you think? Like, what decision makers? What decision makers? And before you have the guy, with the big freaking long fingernails during Biden run around, vamp around, make sure everything's all fine in the country.
And just to spread the love, to make sure we're not attacking any particular protected group too much here, the person who was like, yeah, $100K to build a replica set of Call Her Daddy in a hotel room, that seems reasonable. Like, the people who thought that too, like,
right. And so
it's so much
yes.
unconscionable decision making went into this project on so many levels.
It's funny because really the origins, it's a miracle that the Hawktua girl didn't get 100,000. Seriously.
She probably turned it down. They probably tried. You don't think Kamala tried to get onto the Talk to
sure.
podcast?
Well, although she's a bit, I bet you some of the interns or some of the 21-year-olds didn't like her because she's country.
Yeah,
she's
that's what I'm saying. I think Hawktua is
by the way,
conservative coded.
Did you see the TikTok of the lady who was accosted by Trump fans at the Montville Ave McDonald's?
I don't think I saw that one.
I did send it to us, but it's very funny. So she gets out. She said, "I'm at the McDonald's in Woburn, Massachusetts, and I went in."
Was it Woburn, Massachusetts?
Woburn, Massachusetts. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Want me to find it? Want me to play it? It might be long.
It's okay.
Anyway, she said. And so when I got out of there, I had a little free mom time, so I went in and got some fries and whatever. And
the one I go to.
well, I hope it's the one in Montville Ave because that one's great. But there is one in the Woburn Mall, or at least used to be one, which is probably not great, but maybe it's changed. So anyway, she said, and there were a bunch of Trump supporters, men at high school age, all around the car and saying, "You look like a lesbian because you does your hair, bitch," or whatever. And they were saying, "Oh, because she had a Harris thing in her car." So they harassed her, and she said, "Of course." I called the police afterwards, and in no surprise, of course, they came in a pickup truck, and she gave away these giveaways that you could tell, hey, maybe this didn't happen the way you're saying it. But the only reason I say that is because just the I don't know if I always said that, but it made me happy. What were you saying?
Something about Hawktua.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. It's just yeah, that's right. Because
anyway, I look forward to watching the whole Pod Save Jen O'Malley and Dylan
She's
podcast.
A loser.
I want to hear the whole thing though, because I want to hear what they say to her and stuff. I'm really curious. I do want to, since we've been talking about female criminals that you may or may not approve of. Did you see this girl that I sent you? This TikTok influencer.
Is this? I don't want to describe her.
She has a large bosom.
Oh yeah. What's her deal?
Did you see the pictures? She's a TikTok influencer. She has 300,000 TikTok followers.
Okay.
She was arrested after she has been making apparently videos about how to shoplift from Target.
I do like her already.
A Florida-based TikTok influencer was arrested after showing off goods she shoplifted from her local Target in a video posted to her 300,000 followers. Marlena Velez, 22, did you see her pictures that I put in the chat, is facing petty theft charges for allegedly stealing $500 from the Target store in Cape Coral on October 30th. The retail chain's loss prevention team told the police a shoplifter was caught on security cameras at a self-checkout register where they scanned a fake barcode that listed lower prices for the items in their cart.
Right, smart.
The police said the suspect stole 16 items, including household goods and clothes, valued at $400.32. Officers reviewed and verified Target's security footage and posted a photo of the suspect on social media.
Oh, I do like her, yeah.
In hopes the public could identify her. Velez, who posts videos about her life as a mom of 2 kids on TikTok, was identified as the shoplifter by an anonymous caller claiming to be one of her followers. They provided officers with her Instagram handle and her TikTok account. Her TikTok page included a Get Ready With Me video from the day of the shoplifting incident and showed her wearing the same outfit and glasses from the Target security footage. The since-deleted TikTok video also documented herself picking out the items inside the Target and placing them in her car afterward. She essentially incriminated herself. They say that she also has quite a criminal history.
No.
In 2019, she was arrested on Grand Theft Auto charges for stealing her friend's car and crashing it.
How fit? We like her, yes.
Her high school friend said that when they were in high school, she let her sit in her car during class until lunchtime. She trusted her with the keys. And when she returned to the parking lot, her vehicle and Velez were nowhere to be found. We figured out she went and crashed my car and totaled it into a ditch. She never paid for any damages. A report from the store said she also, had a previous shoplifting in 2023 at a Walmart where she underrang items by scanning one item and then placing another item underneath the scanned item. She stole $63 in kitchen items, pleaded no contest to the charges, and was sentenced to complete an anti-theft course and serve 6 months of probation. She's been living recklessly, flaunting a lifestyle that doesn't match her actions, Santana said. Following her most recent arrest, the Cape Coral Police Department said her social media following will not shield her from facing consequences from her actions if found guilty.
Here we go.
But Tom's a fan of her.
I'm a fan.
Marlena Velez.
Absolutely.
So speaking of social media influencers, I did want to talk a little bit about, we've been discussing how people can make money on social media.
And personally, we've been talking about it here because I can't figure out what works and what doesn't work on TikTok, and it's amazing. I've done different lengths. I just can't predict it. Some things just go crazy, like there's that one that has about 2 million views, and some get 83 views, and like I have no idea what it takes. I have like just under like 1,800 followers right now. Ideally, you get to 10,000, and you can start monetizing and more good stuff happens, I guess. That's what I'm told. But I can't figure it out. I don't know how it works. And like I'm talking to a couple of friends who have just been whacked from radio, and they're thinking of doing like podcasts and this and that. And at this point, like, VB Doug Gowdy got whacked, and he's been putting out these videos that are 5 minutes long on social media. And just on Twitter right now, and like I look at that, they say it's good content. It's 5 minutes of good content. He could put that on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Twitter, and that stuff. People may gravitate towards that. It might actually work.
People's attention span is super short.
Well,
now.
right. Like, why? I mean, does the world really need more long form podcasts? Unless he's doing something
podcasts are good, but it's also. There's a lot of very, very successful long-form podcasts, but the startup investment is huge to be a Joe Rogan.
Well,
not in terms of money, but in terms of like time and energy to create a 3.5-hour podcast with like good guests and stuff.
Right. Well, he had the luxury of a few bucks in the bank from this TV show, and he was a stand-up. So he's working at night anyway.
But he's also now been around forever. Like, he didn't become a person with a 20 million person audience, like, in his first year of doing it, I don't think.
He also wasn't trying to do that. He just simply did, and this is probably the key.
And that's interesting because I've heard a lot of analysis on the left, like, well, how come we don't have our own left-wing Rogan? We need to go make a left-wing Rogan. But, like, part of the thing with Rogan, I mean, he's a Bernie bro. Like, he was never political at all.
Well, yeah.
Right? And, like, it happened organically. Like, he didn't set out to be the biggest podcaster in the world. And you can't artificially create that. much as the Obama Pod Save Bros would like to, and they've been fairly successful, but they're not Rogan, right?
Well, no, they're not Rogan, but they're up there.
They're pretty successful. I mean, like
They're the NPR of podcasts.
Yeah, and I mean, I think things on the right, like Megyn Kelly or Ruthless, probably are kind of comparable to, you know, to what the crooked media shows are. That's Pod Save America and those shows. So I think that, like, you can, like, go out and be like, I'm gonna create a conservative podcast and have it be, like, fairly successful, but you can't, or a liberal podcast, right? But you can't organically create a Joe Rogan on your own, because that's something else and it's something special, and you just can't do it.
That's doing Air America.
Mark in the chat says they did have a left-wing Rogan. His name was Joe Rogan.
Right, exactly.
Well
said, Mark.
True.
Right, but that's Air America. When they try to just duplicate. All right, we'll have, who's that guy? The big Ed Schultz on. He's our big Rush Limbaugh voice guy, but he's still the big labor unions, this and that. And they had Rachel Maddow and what's her name? The cute girl from I forgot her name. Anyway, she used to be cute in about 1990. You know, in others, and they had a conspiracy person as well, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, but if Joe Rogan like became a political podcast where he talked politics all the time, he would stop being so successful.
Correct. He just does what he wants to do.
No,
and that's it. I mean, he's so completely intellectually curious. That's what leads his show. He doesn't care about, and he'll talk to anybody, and he doesn't care if you're not supposed to. Just doesn't care. That's the biggest thing. Doesn't care. It's like amazing. They wanted him to do more Fear Factors. He was like, nope, done with TV. Done looking for. He doesn't really do many interviews other than with his friends. He's like done with it. He's one of these guys. If you hear him talk about his time in Hollywood, didn't need them, and that's such a powerful place to be, or didn't want them. You know,
right.
He thinks that there's a lot of greaseballs and dirtbags in Hollywood, and you know he stumbled into his job on news radio. But it's a very interesting thing. But you're right; it's not easy to duplicate. It's not a guy. Not easy. He like cried for an hour with another guest, the guy who did Clerks, about their dogs dying a few years ago.
But and this is the problem: is that it's authentic.
That's right. That's right.
Like,
and it can't be duplicated.
And I mean, and that's why, honestly, Call Her Daddy used to be really popular too. And why it didn't work when they had Kamala go on Call Her Daddy and they constructed a fake set out of nothing in a hotel room for $100,000 and did this fake show with scripted questions with the Call Her Daddy person there. Like, it's not the Call Her Daddy show. If you wanted to have Kamala go on Call Her Daddy and have Alex or whatever her name is ask her about blowing Willie Brown and like do a no holds barred say anything authentic interview, and you have Kamala laughing about giving BJ's, then that could have been a freaking campaign busting moment.
There would be a new biggest populist candidate there. Yes, there would be. It's about Madam Time. It would be Madam Time right now.
You'd be voting for Kamala.
Yes, absolutely.
So I mean, but that's the problem for the left when they sit here and they say like, "Oh, can I do this?" And it's like really very few people who can do that.
Right.
You know, who can create that kind of authenticity and relationship with their audience. And I think it's an interesting question because obviously there are a lot of people who want to make it in, quote, content creation and like online stuff. And obviously, like, we kind of swim in this circle and like talk to people about what they're doing. What are you doing that's working? What are you going on? How are you making TikTok videos? Tom lives his TikTok views up and down. I was telling you, did you ever make a pit bull one or no?
No, I had
you
no
should
time.
make
I was on the move.
You should make a TikTok about pit bulls, right? But
about eradicating them?
Yeah. Why?
Well, I don't know if you're allowed to call for the
Well, just start off by saying, I mean, say the normal stuff. You don't have to have Pitbull genocide as like the.
Maybe that'd be my thing. I'm Mr. Kill All the Pitbulls.
Pitbull man. But anyway, but like we talk about this stuff, and I thought it was interesting because they talked about this a bit on KMS today, and I have to admit I've been like terrible with KMS. I have been so flat out with like work and kids and a million things. I've not listened to a lot, but we've been in a ton of these conversations lately because, like you said, you've been talking to VP, you've been talking to people who do big TikTok stuff, like all these things to get an idea of like what people do and like what kind of content you can make, and is YouTube where you make money or whatever. And I just thought it was interesting because this kind of came up on KMS today. This is why I put it on, because I was excited to hear our friends of the show, Steve from Gloucester and Bio Dude and all the people we love were in studio with Mutt, and it was fun. So I like put it on. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I heard the beginning.
Why do we love Bio Dude? Because Bio Dude
says nice things about me on
That's
Twitter.
right. That's right.
I'm very shallow. It's very easy.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
I got a lot going on right now.
What do you got?
We got a big podcast today recording.
So this is Mike Manansky, who has been unemployed from Odyssey for over a year now. He was a co-host there.
But for the grace of God.
Right, was a co-host there, and from everything I hear, are all around great guy, but still is underemployed.
My friend Glenn Ordway, he and I are going to sit down and talk.
Oh, about what?
Let's Stack podcast tomorrow. Well, a lot of stuff.
Wow.
We eat radio
Tomorrow?
It'll be up tomorrow at 6
So basically, when you call him on the phone and talk about you
I don't
guys,
talk
it'll
to
now
Glenn.
be...
No, I don't talk
Now
to
be
Glenn
on
on the
tape.
phone that much.
Okay.
Actually,
I do.
I don't.
Well, not that much.
You talk to him more than I.
Yeah, I catch up with him every month or two, yeah.
But I was admittedly jealous. He did Curran's show like a month ago. I'm like, he's still into it. He's still fired up.
Yeah, we all heard that, yeah.
I got a
really
podcast
jealous from
tomorrow.
that, yeah.
And then live stream tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
For what?
Myself and Mike Montante talking the 3 Thanksgiving Day games. The NFL.
Wow.
Huge
Where is that available?
breaking news.
News.
YouTube, my YouTube page, and on Twitter.
What's your YouTube page?
The Muttstack YouTube page.
That's a YouTube page?
Yeah. We do.
Why wouldn't it be on our YouTube page?
It's my show.
Oh, but it's my guy. Like, it's mine.
I won't have him on.
No, I'm just, no, I don't care, but I'm saying that is
I like to pause it for
that
a
is
sec.
clear.
That Mutt immediately throws Montante under the bus. He's like, well, I won't use Mike Montante. Then.
Yeah, that is
if that's a problem, then he wants to have it on his own YouTube channel so badly that he's like, well, I don't need Montante anyway. If Montante is your territory, then I'll just do it on my own.
And that's the problem here, right? Is like, well, what is your point with this?
Well, my point with that, so it's interesting because obviously, Mutt's great, Kirk's great. Obviously, we love KMS, but Mutt has gotten heat. A bunch of people have been pushing to get Mutt to go to Barstool, which obviously would be a good move for a guy who comes from sports radio and betting and
Boston.
And like goes on Kirk's show all the time and so has a bunch of audience. I mean, like, clearly many of the subscriptions to Muttstack are driven, I would say, by his association with Kirk Minahan.
Yes.
You know, I don't think that the Muttstack as an independent entity is as well known as KMS.
No, right. Okay. But so
the point is, right, that like he's trying to create his like own universe here, and he's so hung up on these like old school ideas of like this needs to be on my channel, this is my thing, I'm doing this, I have my own independent Muttstack media company with the independent Muttstack YouTube channel and the independent
where there's one Muttstack put out per week. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, I guess it's very prestigious to be the president and CEO of the Muttstack, but like, I don't know what it's doing. So play a little bit more here because they get on to like how people get paid on YouTube and stuff. I thought it was interesting.
Really, like,
Is what?
You might get more eyes.
How do you find the Muttstack YouTube page? Because if you look up Muttstack, all that comes up is KMS stuff.
What do you mean?
You just type in Muttstack.
I think you're making Kirk's point for him.
I
Right? Exactly.
I just Googled, looked up Muttstack on YouTube. I have KMS, KMS, unnamed.
At Muttstack?
KMS.
Oh, there's a
KMS.
Sportsbook Live.
KMS. One second, I'm not telling you. KMS. Bloomberg Television. KMS. And it's all the stuff I usually watch on my own. Oh, no, that's not too. Hashtag Girardi, 2 bars to that's Dick Girardi, that one. 6 months ago. There's a picture of you a year ago in one of those puffer jackets you wear.
I like that.
Montante plans a golf tournament featuring Mutt. Quantum Kirk with Coleman. A Menors network comes up before that. Where is Muttstack?
I've never gone live on it, so I think the username is just @Muttstack.
On
YouTube.com/ well, that's my
do you gotta get my
account name.
You get my point though or no?
Oh, there we go. I found it.
No, but I can't unless
Yeah,
you
but
want to give me
it
your
took you a while
YouTube
to find
page.
it though, Justin.
I haven't gone live on it yet.
But
The
like, why
algorithm's not
wouldn't you
started
just
yet.
First subscriber.
Do you get my point, Dave,
Thanks,
or no?
buddy.
I do.
What's my point?
That
Here it is. It has 1 subscriber.
I haven't published
I
it.
just subscribed.
Not our network.
I just talked about it for the first time. I never
moments
talked
ago.
about it publicly ever.
Silence. Is it who's a subscriber?
was moments ago. That was Justin.
It's not my channel. It's you as an individual, correct?
Yes.
Is it?
No, I will unsubscribe because I'm on.
Appreciate that. So how many subscribers now?
0.
0 subscribers. 0 subscribers. It's gonna be tough. Well, my point is why this is why
I'm
people.
producing it myself.
This is why
You want me to
people
give me
don't.
your account?
This is why
You want me to
people.
give
This
me-
is why people. No, I don't want it on my account. This is why people
That's what I'm
don't
saying.
like you.
Great,
Because
that's
this is
fine.
a snivelly. Do you get my point? Bio dude.
What is snivelly about this?
Bio dude understands my point. Bio dude, go ahead.
He's the smartest guy I've ever talked to.
Will you get more eyes on KMS Network or even the
BD, it's not even that. What I'm saying is, what it comes down to is like he's doing it behind our backs. Or like, oh, I'm doing this on Montante and doing this on my.
Yeah.
It's that thing again where he's turning his back.
Am I still hanging in here? For
Well, they're going to talk about how they get paid for YouTube videos and whatever, because Mutt's like surprised to hear that they get money for YouTube videos
Right.
and whatever. And like, that's the thing is it's such an old school way of looking at it, right? Is like, I have the Muttstack product and I'm going to live
Right.
stream on my Muttstack YouTube channel with 0 subscribers. Like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah. And what
I
do you?
mean, like, people slave for years to go on every podcast, to go on everything, to get every opportunity to go on bigger channels. There's people with the ear of the people who run Barstool asking for you to go on to Barstool and you won't do it, like, because you're going to run this independent thing. Like, people try so hard to get noticed by this stuff and run their own independent stuff and be on everything and do every unpaid media appearance to get attention for their channel and whatever. And like, it's just such an old school attitude that you're just going to jump into it and like have this thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and not only that, but like the social media success and content creation success is a bunch of gigs.
oh yeah,
And-
it's a fickle mistress.
Right.
Put it that way. TikTok is a fickle mistress. There was a whole big controversy on Twitter because this chick, what's her name? This woman made a bunch of money on her Twitter. Tom mentioned the other day that he wanted to make money on Twitter. Tiffany Fong, this young lady, seems very talented at social media content creation, made $38,000 last month on X.
Yeah.
And this caused a lot of controversy because she posted things like which way should you put your toilet paper roll, like up or
No,
down,
it's
and
not
like
bad, actually.
it's like engagement bait
Yeah.
crud, right? One of the things she posted says, if your boyfriend uses TikTok, you have a girlfriend.
It's a good provocative line.
I took it to heart.
Well, I mean, I don't really use TikTok. I
Uh-huh.
produce content on TikTok.
But anyway, this
I
guy
use Instagram for food porn. That's what I use.
this guy Alex Finn posted about it and said, are you upset that she got a higher X payout than you? And it's because the whole thing that X does is it's all about like engagement by verified followers.
Right.
So the more engagement that you have from people who are verified, because then Twitter knows that they're not bots, so they know that there's like real traffic
interesting.
seeing these things, right? Because you're not going to pay $8 an account to make bot accounts.
Right.
You're just not. It's too expensive. So you're going to do it for you're real. So if you have engagement from real human beings, which the $8 is how Twitter tells that you're a real human being,
Right.
then that's how people get, these payouts. It's engagement by these accounts, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I've maxed out on TikTok.
So, but it's fascinating stuff. And like people kill themselves chasing algorithms and learning this stuff and trying things and doing stuff. And it just struck me as so funny, this idea that Mutt thinks he's going to like live stream for the first time ever on his defunct YouTube channel with 0 followers. And like something's going to happen from this. If I was his wife, I'd be so pissed right now.
Well, that's a good aspect of this thing to talk about. Because, I mean, I assume she's a breadwinner, but here's the thing is that if you're going to follow the dream, then follow the dream. I mean, his amount of productive output should be a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more than that. They've got 2 kids. You got to do if that's what you want it to be. But then again, it can't be what he wants it to be. It can't be. I think. But maybe he's got a job. Maybe that would tell me you need just a real job.
I mean, but I think there is like a dilemma with radio guys where there's still...
Oh, it's a step down if you're taking...
It's a prestige step down to go from, quote, real radio that used to have cachet to it.
Right.
To be in radio. You're like a real thing.
Yeah.
And like to go to these, it feels like a step down to be like a network producer in between like Mike and the Minifans and like Biodude's Book Club.
Yeah.
On the network of the KMS show. Like it feels like not real, even though that's where the money is. But I think that's why it ties into like the Kamala campaign attitude and stuff too, is like they still haven't taken it to heart that these things like Rogan or like KMS, that these are real things. Like it lacks legitimacy in their eyes.
Well, yeah.
Mutt and Jen O'Malley Dillon have the same problem.
That's a great point.
Which is that they look at Joe Rogan or KMS and they think, we don't need this. This is a bunch of stupid troglodytes. It's fine. But like, I think Mutt in his head could, when he was a radio guy and he went on KMS, he could think like, I'm coming in here as an equal. I'm a person.
Right.
I'm doing my buddy Kirk, who runs a little podcast, a favor as Mr. Big legitimate radio guy. I'm coming in here and I'm lending him legitimacy. Like he can't do a network show on the KMS network with Tom and Alice Shattuck being drunk and not watching their kids. Like that's pathetic.
Oh, we are available for that, Mr. Minahan.
Are we still off the network? I can't keep track of where we stand.
Or out of the world.
Where we stand. But yeah. I don't know. It's a fascinating thing about like where media has like turned and where the prestige is versus where the money is, because I don't think people realize like how not prestigious like traditional media has become.
I think a lot of people realize...
Kirk Minahan has way more listeners than MSNBC has viewers.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. And more devoted listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Lawrence O'Donnell could do a live show in Portland for 5,000 people. I think it would work like that. All right, Alice, we should do the chat because we are running...
oh, yeah, we're way over. I'm sorry. All right.
Hey, don't sweat it, kid. You know?
You know what?
I did want to cook for the kids at some point. Okay, here we go. You say you should have? Yeah, that little child voice saying you should have. It wasn't your mother, my friend. It was your mother. Uh-oh.
Hey guys, I agree with Phil and Leslie that we should definitely have an inauguration party for President Trump on January 20th. I think would be a great afternoon.
Here we go.
Meeting everybody that calls into the chat, including Steve from Merrimack. But unlike Phil, I don't have any money to contribute, so I can't help you there, but definitely people can contribute money my way if they like. And I don't drink, so to me it doesn't necessarily have to be at a bar, but I agree with Leslie that we should definitely do it someplace where a lot of people can come and
Yes.
celebrate President Trump being inaugurated as the 47th president.
Yeah, here.
So I think we should definitely do it. So Tom and Alice, work your magic. I think it's going to be a great day on January 20th. Thank you.
I do too. The finding the time to create the event.
Phil says we don't even have to go.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's
You can
Phil's
just
event.
go.
That's right. It would be a great fun party. There's no doubt about that.
It would be fun. I hope we can figure out a way to do it. Somebody on Twitter was suggesting the rusty can.
We love the rusty can, but
Devin was saying that, I think, on Twitter.
I mean, obviously the rusty can's freaking fantastic.
That might be a tough, either expensive or crowded event venue.
Yeah,
It's a
I
little
think
tricky.
is there another space?
I do think they have a side room, but I'm not sure.
Tom, you were really upset with Sean Duffy getting all sorts of attention in bars because he was on Real World Boston.
Correct.
You realize that guy was a lumberjack, right?
He was?
He won lumberjacking competitions.
Really?
You were a schmo who used to go jogging and then smoke half a pack of cigarettes.
That is correct.
And then you'd make out with guys in bars just to get free drinks.
Yep.
What a smear. That is not true.
You created this narrative.
That is, I did get free drinks. By the way, there's something to be said for what kind of free, because my friend was also getting free drinks. I had to pay the price to get those free drinks for my friend, Mike, who may be listening and watching right now.
Mm.
It was one kiss. He kissed me. I didn't kiss. Come on, dude. Just Alice. He's teetering on the edge, Alice. That's what's happening.
Incorrect.
I
Also,
think Tom's attracted to women. I think. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you, Alice.
Funny about service animals. I was in
I must have killed you to say, but thank you, Alice.
Trader Joe's, I think, and a rather flamboyantly dressed gentleman walked in, plopped down his pocket chihuahua with a quote-unquote service dog vest on it that he bought on Amazon and paraded around the store. And I'm just like, come on. And there was one incident where some woman tried to bring on a service peacock on an airplane.
Yeah, no
Did you guys remember that?
Yeah.
She tried, and the airline was like, no, that's enough. Enough with the service animals. That's enough. See what happens when crazy goes too far for acceptance. People turn around and go, listen, that's enough. Kind of like this election.
Well said. Pocket chihuahua. I like that. I didn't know that was a thing.
No, but it's true. The same thing that, like, there's a whole article that I sent to us. We should talk about this tomorrow about how some trans activists are saying, like, maybe we shouldn't have gone so far.
See, why not? I don't.
And, like, I think the same thing with the service animals. Like, if you have every millennial with anxiety in their service peacock, then it, like, just undermines the people who have, like, a legit medical need.
Right.
Hi, Tom and Alice. Alicia here.
Hey, Alicia.
I'm calling. I know there's a separate line for the All You Can Eat podcast, but I thought with Thanksgiving and everything, it would be appropriate. First off, I think McDonald's should probably pay you guys for advertising. Or
Alice was there today.
McDonald's
Should I
today.
save this for the All You Can Eat tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe we should save this for the All You Can Eat podcast. So if you want to hear more of Alicia and McDonald's talk and stuff, we should head to the All You Can Eat podcast.
But nice to hear from you. We'll play this tomorrow on the All You Can Eat podcast. It's very important.
I gave pie advice in a work meeting today, by the way.
I didn't know you knew anything about pie.
I didn't know I did either, but I apparently know more about pie than my coworker who asked if the middle of the pumpkin pie was still wet, if she should.
I would have put a 9mm in my mouth if the meeting refused to end, and then some broad starts talking about pie advice during it. Oh.
Hey, Tom and Alice.
Hey, Charlie.
I just want to say that you're talking about those service dogs or the make-believe service dogs.
Yes.
I know somebody who had a pitted bull for a make-believe service dog.
Yep.
And she brought it on a plane when she traveled from the East Coast to the West Coast. But she had to sedate the dog. And then the dog had diarrhea.
Oh, great.
And after I got done telling her what a horrible human being she was for doing that, the answer was, well, if they're going to let me get away with it, I'm just going to do it. So that's my story on the service animal industry. It's kind of a joke.
Yes.
People have taken advantage of it, and it's just not right. And have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
You too, Charlie. Yeah, that's great. Certainly what you'll want to see when you're on a plane is a nervous flyer pit bull sitting next to you. Freaking A.
I mean, even before the diarrhea, it's concerning.
Yeah, we said somebody brought her
Don't
service
worry,
dog.
I've sedated him.
Somebody brought their pitted bull service dog into the Dollar General when I was there with my son, and she's like, she came up to us. She's like, "Oh, you can pet him. He's okay. He's a service dog." Her pit bull. I was like, "Yeah, freaking. I don't want him walking away with my son's face. Okay, he's freaking keep your pitted bulls away."
This is what I'm saying. You have to do a TikTok about the pit bulls. I think it will take off.
We'll
You're going to
see.
become the pit bull man.
We'll see. People are very passionate about their pit bulls.
I know,
Alice.
but that's why. It drives engagement.
Drives engagement. All right.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Thank you for the great chat messages. Thank you for bearing with us through some technical difficulties at the beginning of today's show. Mostly we have live streams every day. If you want to join for those, you can do so at patreon.com/burnbarrel. If you want to listen ad-free, you can also do that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. If you like listening for free, at burnbarrelpodcast.com, there's links to all the places to listen: YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, etc.